Welcome to CivilNet. My guest today is Nicolas Tavitian, who runs a company called Voice in Europe, a public affairs company in Brussels, and is also a member of the HBU Europe board. Nicolas has been active in Armenian issues in Brussels, in the European structures for many years, and I want to thank you, Nicolas, for being here with us today.
Good morning, Salpi, and thank you for inviting me.
Nicolas, let's talk about your read of what is being said in European structures about Hungary's extradition of Safarov to Azerbaijan and the pardon there. The comments have been one-sided, would you say?
Yes, the comments have been appropriate as far as they went. The first thing to notice is that there have been many reactions. We've had reactions from all the European structures at different levels. For those who know those institutions, the Parliament, the Council, the Commission, and different levels within the Parliament, and of course other European structures such as the Council of Europe and the OSCE and so on. So that's already very significant. The second thing to note is that everybody expresses concern for what happened, for the news, for the release of Safarov, and up to a point for his extradition.
But really, the concern is over the release within Azerbaijan. The issue is not the extradition as such.
No, that's right. It is the release in Azerbaijan that is the focus of the concern. There isn't exactly direct condemnation, but that concern is equivalent to a mild form of condemnation. So everybody took note over the last week of what happened and of this bizarre and worrying event. What wasn't there in the declarations is setting things in context, is trying to draw lessons from this incident and from the fact that Azerbaijan made a hero out of a murderer, to be critical towards Azerbaijan's actual policy, the policy of being bellicose towards Armenia and exercising constant propaganda against Armenia. And that point we still need to make in the European structure.
In a way, what Aliyev did was simply a part of his policy, as you say. It was just a very exaggerated, very in-your-face sort of expression that the Europeans couldn't avoid. On the other hand, the fact of the release itself is something that is an issue within Hungary and domestic politics in Hungary. And the European structures have really not said anything about that, have they? Even though they seem very concerned about Hungary's direction away from democratization.
Yes, so far they've entirely stayed out of that field. You're entirely right, Salpi. And you have to bear in mind that to come out with these statements, you need up to a point the assent of Hungary. You don't want within the Council to confuse issues, or to mix, rather, Azerbaijan and Hungary in the same discussion. So you would not be able to express criticism of both at the same time in a statement.
Given that this is, in fact, a part of continuous, consistent Azerbaijani policy, this radicalization, this extreme, amoral approach to a conflict that has at its basis significant human rights concerns. What is there that Armenians can and should do at this point? The cynical question is, what are our dividends? What can we be reaping?
Well, as I was saying, now we have to put that message across that Safarov is not the Safarov release and everything that happened last week is not an isolated incident. It is part of a continuous policy that has been building up over the last 10 years at least. And that they haven't heard yet. You see, what happens is there are isolated and shocking events which catch the world's attention
momentarily.
But if we don't connect the dots of these events, people will never assimilate a narrative. And in this case, the idea, which is entirely correct, that Azerbaijan is promoting a very aggressive and dangerous policy from which there is no turning back. Once you have promoted hatred to the extent they are doing inside Azerbaijan, You cannot overnight compromise over Karabakh, make peace with your neighbor and decide that all will be as before. So it's a very dangerous, irreversible policy.
And that's become extremely apparent in the kinds of reactions that have been expressed by Armenians in Armenia and Armenians around the world. Even in Belgium, right, which is usually a quiet community, there was a demonstration.
You're right, Belgium is usually a quiet community, but this time there was a demonstration, and I was very impressed. It wasn't a massive demonstration, there were about 200 people there, but everybody stuck to the message. We were in front of the permanent representation of Hungary towards the European institutions. The message to the Hungarians was very dignified. We had a young Hungarian representative who gave a very good speech of brotherhood between Hungarians and Armenians, and how indignant he was at his own government's behavior. There was no talk about revenge, no flag burnings, no aggressivity, just justice and principles. And that, as far as I know, is how it happened almost everywhere. And I must credit Armenians everywhere for this.
Well, there were a few flags that no longer are in use, but generally the Armenian message has been clear because we've lived it. Now, your message is that consistent thread that we all know from 1988 to 2012, that's the strategic path of Azerbaijan's relations with Armenians that we need to get out to the world.
Yes. And which for now they haven't wanted to, up until now, they haven't wanted to hear. Everybody, the international institutions strenuously try and establish a symmetry, and often the media as well, and we have to break that symmetry.
Thank you very much. We've been talking to Nicolas Tavitian, who is on the board of HBU Europe, active in promoting Armenian issues within European structures, and we've been talking about the Safarov release, extradition from Hungary, release in Azerbaijan, and this is a topic that we will continue to talk about, and with Nicolas as well. Thank you for watching CivilNet.